And we're back on this beautiful December day. What are we going to talk about? So last time I left you guys, I said there were some cool skulls coming into the collection. I said they were rare, only rare because of the condition of them. You know, some skulls are getting hard to find these days. If you were around 10 years ago or so, you remember I was crazy into Don Post skulls and wrote the book on them, so to speak. I didn't write a book. Lee Lambert wrote the book. I mean, I wrote this little history or timeline, if you will, of the Don Post skull. Made a mistake or two along the way, but a lot of us will agree, including myself, that it is pretty on the money. And I didn't. And the way that all came about was my old house there was skulls everywhere. I was buying up Don Post skulls like a maniac. Every skull that was on eBay, I was snatching it up. And, in time, so eventually they're everywhere. And I started studying them. Sometimes that's how things like this happen. You have a few different variations of a mask, oh boy, laying around. You start noticing differences in things. And I started seeing all these different types of Don Post skulls. Way back in the day, you thought they were all the same. Like, that's the Don Post skull, they're all the same. No way, there's a bunch of different variations and sculpts and molds and sizes. And so I started laying it all out on paper and in front of my eyeballs, and I said, hey, there's differences in these things. So I went and did this old video that's on AJ's channel. It's got a crazy amount of views now. I like the video, but I hate it because it's the old days of me talking on YouTube, and I'm just like a robot when I talk on it. So I was thinking of redoing it, taking out the same footage and just narrating over it so it sounds normal. But anyway, here we are. I've got some beautiful skulls to show you. And of course, there is a new guy on the block, the new kid on the block, buying up all the skulls, Mr. Darren Williams. He's a skull fanatic. And I think he has surpassed the amount of skulls I actually owned back in the day. So, Darren, we're going to dedicate this video to you. This video is brought to you by Mustache, your favorite cat of the Crimson Ghost Mask Room. Watch her take a big shit on my Frankenstein. What are you doing? I changed the doorknob on my bedroom so her brother can no longer... They don't want to see that. Her brother will go open the door, let her into the bedrooms so she can lay on the beds, and he just walks away like, go ahead, go get hair everywhere. The first skull we're going to take out... The first skull I'm going to show you is a glow skull. Yes. Remember, I said condition is what makes these skulls rare that I'm going to show you. Look how minty this looks. Hey, I know! You got to go. Get. Go on, jump off a cliff. Get. Looks pretty minty, right? That's because it's still tagged. Woohoo! Holy cow. So, yeah, this thing is super mint. And it kind of... So, one thing I wanted to touch on real quick when I was talking about how I wrote that little thing up on the skulls and kind of brought the history out in front of everyone's eyeballs, where these different variations started and ended and all that. Most people thought the skulls were always white, like in 67 and on, and that's no, that was not the case. 67 on the back, of course, is the copyright that we all know now, and the white skulls were not cataloged until 1980, and that's a big thing I wanted to tell you guys. If you're kind of new to this whole hobby and don't know everything there is to know with when a mask came out or it didn't, those old catalogs and catalog photos are all the evidence you need sometimes to figure things out. That was a big key in me figuring out when the white skulls started and pretty much ended, when the latex skulls, the flimsy ones, began. Everyone thought those were really old, and they're not. They came out like in '84. So you'll notice, like in the '78 catalogs, they're still brownish colored on the catalog. Like '78, '79 catalog photos of the skulls, they look like this dingy look. But in 1983, they were making the glow skulls again. They may have been making them before that again, but I just can't remember right now. But they're a lot brighter white paint, like this one. See how it's got way more bright paint than those '78 glow skulls that always look like a gray color. This thing has so much paint on it that sometimes if you just get it in a little shady area, it just starts glowing green instantly. It's really cool. Like here you see the blue and white hang tag, which is the telltale sign that this mask was manufactured and put on the shelves in '83. '82, we had the black and white hang tags like this mask has. Now here's the other mask I scored. I scored both of these masks within 1 week of each other. Here's an old white one with the black and white care tag, which is like the '82. I say '81, '82 tag. '83, they came out with the blue one. So here we have two minty skulls, and man, they're so gorgeous. Like the paint is, I mean, as good as you can get. And most of all, the vinyl is so soft and black, just super black, super soft, and they're gorgeous. I've only seen a few white tagged skulls in my day, but I could not wait to show you these two guys. And some of you may be asking, well, how do we know that this was an '82 tag and this was an '83 tag? I've said this a million times, yes, for those of you that know. I figured this out because of Halloween 3 masks. Pumpkins, witches, okay? And skulls. The Halloween 3 trio is what helped me click in my mind that this was an '82 tag and this was an '83 tag, because untouched, fully tagged, unworn masks were showing up tagged from the factory with both tags. Okay, the early ones had this tag, then later on they had this tag. So I go, wait a minute, hello, that's what these tags are then, '82 and '83. It just made sense. Those pumpkins and witches and skulls were the reason we kind of know now that's what the dates of these tags are. And of course there's other '83 masks with these tags out there, but that really solidifies it because both tags were showing up on those trios in rare instances, you know. So by this time there was no more dingy glow masks. I think this is just my personal opinion, okay? I've said this in the skull video. I said that when you bought the skull, okay, on screen it was a white skull, okay, in the movie. But when you bought the skulls, they were a glow skull. Like if you ordered it from a Don Post catalog as a Halloween 3 mask, you know, as a silver shamrock version mask, you got a glow skull. And this isn't one of them. However, I have one here. I do have a tagged one here. This is, of course, how we know this was sold, you know, as a part of the trio. But if you study these two masks, they're both '83 glow skulls. And what I'm trying to get at is, I feel, now look at that, that one's even whiter. Whiter meaning more glow paint. What I'm getting at is, I've said before that I felt they put heavier glow paint on these when selling them as Halloween 3 masks Because if you got one of those dark, dingy 78 style glow skulls, you go, look, at this doesn't look like it did on the screen. They were white, you know. That's just my little, you know, guess behind the reasoning for the thicker glow paint. Finally, in '83, they started making them brighter and brighter. And this one, I mean, they were just selling glow skulls at the time without the Shamrock tag, and I guess that's what this is. You know, it's a tagged '83 produced glow skull. So crazy that we got three skulls here, all tagged. You know. Again, in the old skull video, I say the white ones started coming out in 1980. And people are like, how do you know that? I'm like, well, like I was just saying, go look at your old catalog photos. Go look at 78 catalog, 79 catalog. You're not going to see a white skull advertised. However, 1980, boom, right there on the page, you will see the first appearance of a white skull, which totally makes sense. 80, 81, 82, they were making them white now. Halloween 3's filmed in 1982. Boom, they use a white jumbo mask. It only makes sense. The whole timeline follows up to the filming of that movie. You know, there were not white skulls like this in 78, 79. 1980 was the year for the white skulls. 99% of the time when these would hit eBay and people are not part of this hobby, they always say, this is a 1967 Don Post skull. No, you could easily go, nope, that's early 80s all day long. So check that out. Now, one thing you'll be able to notice, and you don't have to be a skull expert to notice this, but you see a difference between the three of these? What is the main difference you see instantly? The size. Look how little that skull is. Now, these are absolute jumbo. You know, these are what I had a couple buddies back in the day, like in the late 90s and early 2000s, and we would call these gorilla skulls. We kind of dubbed them the name Big Old Gorilla Skull, when it wasn't a gorilla skull, but we just nicknamed that for some reason because they're so freaking big. Anyway, in the old videos, I get into the styles of the teeth. I started noticing, like, man, there's different variations in the teeth in some of these masks. This one, I dubbed the snaggle tooth. I coined the term snaggle tooth. If you hear someone calling a skull mask a snaggle tooth version, I came up with that term because this has this indented little weird tooth here versus the really nice, you know, rounded big teeth. And all of those snaggle tooth, call them whatever you want. Like, these are just stupid names I've come up with over the years, and they stuck. Kind of like when people are selling Rolex watches and they call them Hulk versions and the Batman version. Rolex never called them Batman watches, just because they're blue and black, you know, or they call them the Pepsi dial or the Coca-Cola GMT because they're red and black. Rolex never uses those terms. Anyway, Don Post never called this a snaggletooth, okay, is my dumb way of, you know, identifying the mask. And it stuck. But all of the snaggletooth versions I've seen are those medium-sized skulls. This one's pretty small, but there's never a snaggletooth jumbo skull. So that's one good way. If you're looking at a skull on eBay, you're like, I wonder how big it is. Is it a jumbo? I don't know. If it's got that variation of the teeth here, it's not going to be a jumbo Don Post skull, okay? Just, you know, that's one easy way of saying, okay, it's not a jumbo. And, I mean, look at the size there. You could see the big difference there. Keep in mind, there was lots of molds for these skulls over the years because it was a very, very popular mask and they sold so many of them. Remember, there was the vermilions, you know, with eyes, without eye sockets. There was the ghost skull, the yellow glow version. There was the dirty glow versions. There was the white ones. There was the brown skulls. There's a brown skull down there. Like, there was a lot of skulls over the years. So there's many molds, many sizes.
you know, you're going to see a lot of things going on. That's when I finally having them all in my house at once, I go, something's going on here. There's a lot of weird little variations, you know? So had to show you. I couldn't wait to show you these. I've owned the H3 one for a long time. That's part of my golden my golden trio, my golden big 3 set. This baby here, but I had to dig it out because we're looking at 3 really neat tagged old skulls. I bought both of these from a friend of mine. I had him remove the tags before shipping because this one's already bent up, but I said put them in a flat thing. I don't want it getting messed up. So I think he posted this one recently in the Don Post group, but he didn't have the tag on it in the photo, I noticed. But that is an old school tagged skull. I remember when a couple of tagged ones showed up on eBay years ago, you know, probably 12 to 14 years ago. There was 2 tagged skulls, a glow one and a white one. I don't think these were them though. And back then they sold for $800, and I could not believe they sold for those prices because Don Post masks were not bringing these stupid, you know, prices like they are now these days. It was crazy seeing what they brought on eBay way back then because Don Post skulls were not bringing tall prices like they are now. In fact, I bought the 70s Vermilion when I finally scored one. I think I paid $350 for it, $400. You know, I'm sure guys are paying well over $2,000 for that same mask now, which is, you know, crazy. But anyway, look at this beautiful, soft vinyl, just black, like new. You know, these weren't worn as Halloween masks. They were probably in old costume shops or in collections for years and years and years, and just, you know, were never worn. But let's take a top view here of the 3 of these before we put these away. Look at that. Okay, see that? I don't have the biggest hands in the world, okay? But look at that. It's like major difference. I'm closing my hand now over that middle skull. So, cool. Couldn't wait to show you these. Let's talk about some more stuff that came in this week. I told you about that old farmhouse where I bought some masks. Let's move these guys and we'll get right to it.
So yes, I went to an old farmhouse out in Illinois, which was only about 20 minutes from my house. I went right over the Indiana border, and it was actually a friend's parents' house, so it wasn't like I discovered some, you know, crazy old farmer that had weird masks in the basement. However, this friend of mine is my buddy Dom, he's crazy, okay? He's a crazy, psychopathic friend I have. Met him through good old Dwayne, and we went to some Metallica shows together. Him and Dwayne were hanging out with Kirk and the boys way back during the Justice days, you know. Dwayne was in a band called Quick Change, you know, and they were like, I don't know if they were on tour with them in certain cities, but a lot of crazy stories. And so back then, they were all messing around with masks. You know, trade and buy and sell masks with Kirk back in the day before Metallica was this juggernaut of heavy metal like they are today. But so yeah, like I've got buddies who said they would be talking on the phone with a guy, you know, back and forth for a couple of months, and then finally he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm in a band called Metallica," you know, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I've heard you guys," you know. It's how it was. Kirk buying and selling masks with these. Anyway, so Dom's masks were in his parents' old house in Illinois, and I knew what he had. I knew some of what he had, and I go, "Let's go over there. We'll meet up." And I went down there, and I see this old corner of an old basement, you know, like pool cues and stuff, and just junk cluttered in this area around his old masks. And it was like, that is how I love to find masks. I don't enjoy going on eBay like, I'm going to win it. Oh my God, I'm winning it. You know, like that's, yeah, great, but that's the way, the hobby would be much cooler if you could find every mask like I did with the stuff I'm going to show you now. And I actually have to go back and pick up a few. One of them was pretty rare that I left behind, but I said, don't worry. He ended up getting COVID or something, so I had to wait it out, and I'm going to go back in a few days and pick up the rest. But in these pictures, you'll see there's a rare Freddy piece in there, and there's most of all a Slim. There's a Slim in there that's really cool. I just have to go pick them up. But anyway, what I do have here from those photos, we'll start off with these two. These of course are recasts, but they're really old recasts of Don Post classics. This Dwayne Whitehead said this was his very first recast of a Metaluna mutant, the Bill Malone mid-70s version, not the movie mold. The movie mold, you could probably fit, 3 of these inside the movie mold head. It's so big. But still, the Malone one, I do have an original here. It's about this tall. So that will go to show you when recasting things how much size keeps getting. Look, Jesus, scared the shit out of me. Crazy cat just goes, hey. Lots of size is lost when recasting, but I kind of saw these sitting there. I go, man, they're so cool. Recast or not, they just look great, This here is a recast. He's small, but this is the actual Pat Newman Glenn Strange, that mid-60s calendar Frankenstein monster. And to be honest, the detail is really nice on it, And it's not, it almost looks like glow paint, but I don't think it is. I think it's just like, some monotoned paint up, like light gray or something. I'm really gonna have to put a black light on and see if this glows at all. It's not, but look how cool that is. I want to keep this, hair it properly with some really nice hair material, and that's a great little Frankenstein mask, and it's like, recast or not, it's cool as hell. Not everyone can afford Glenn Strange masks out there that are going to be, $1,000, $2,000 or more. First of all, I only know of one original copy of the Glenn Strange mid-60s calendar mask. Some of you may know the story when Sam McCain borrowed the foamed master, the original real deal calendar foam master for this mask. Took it home to make a mold of it, for private use. That's all I'm going to say. And he was going to secretly put it back, In the process, that foam master got wrecked. Such an iconic piece, history. And I have legitimate castings from the real plaster mold, thank God. So that happened in the process. But what I'm trying to get at is Sam's mold at that point was like the only thing around that was like the closest. If you had a casting out of Sam's mold, it's the closest thing you could possibly get to a real calendar mask. This is not from Sam's. I have a copy out of Sam's mold. Sam pumped them out back in the day, despite what happened with the original foam master. And here is one of those castings. Now I repainted this, if you guys remember, but it was yellow. It was yellow. I want you to see the size though here, okay? And I want to be very clear. I'm not talking shit here. I'm just telling you history, all right? Because that is exactly what happened, okay? Sam borrowed it. No, he did not ask permission. This happened a lot back then. Guys did that. Guys, but you can see, I'm going to put them nose to nose. You will be able to tell that this one is
a little smaller. You know, it's not as big as that. So when I say, thank goodness, I mean, thank goodness his mold did exist after that, you know, because these castings are going to be the closest thing that a lot of people will be able to get in their hands to a real calendar mask. Does that make sense? Now that the original foam master was pretty much destroyed in the process. Effed up. That being, now I was telling you guys I had original castings. Let's jump over here for just 2 seconds since we're on the subject. Those two masks there are real deal pulls from the plaster mold, the Pat Newman 60s Glen Strange mold. Okay, the foam master is the positive, right? This is the hollow mold that you pour the liquid into, the factory calendar mask mold. That's what these are from. These are some of the final pulls to ever come out of that mold. And oh boy, there's so much shit on the floor. But anyway, Sam's copy is not, it's a little smaller than these, okay? I should do a comparison someday of those. Maybe we will dig it out at the end of the video, but I know I keep babbling in different directions here, but it's still a great looking little recast, you know, it's awesome. And I think I absolutely want to take this thing over winter and apply custom hair to it. And man, it'll look spectacular. I'm not even going to mess with the paint because it's aged. Whatever Dwayne put on there, it's aged nicely and just looks cool as hell. I may reshape the neck slightly, but I mean, that's gonna look great. All right, so let's take a look at the Metaluna Mutant. All right, hang tight. All right, I'm sorry if this is crooked at all. I keep trying to line the camera back up because I keep moving it. But anyway, so now what we have here in front of you is Dwayne's old recast of the Malone Mutant. And this is the real deal here on your right. Take a look at the difference in the size of these two pieces. I'm actually going to measure this one for you guys because I know a lot of these have popped up over the years on eBay. Okay, castings, not the real deal mask, but recasts. So I think if I try to give you some measurements to go off of, you'll be able to tell, you know, someday if you're looking at one, if it's original, if it's not, how big of a recast it is, because this one's pretty small, okay? However, there are others out there that are a little bigger. They're not quite, obviously not the exact same size, but there are some that are bigger than this. So maybe you'll be able to use the measurements off of these two tonight to kind of tell what you're looking at someday, okay? All right. Regardless, recast or not, I loved the weird silver color variation on this. And I go, man, I want to buy that. It was a great, you know, killer price. And obviously I have a thing for Metaluna mutants. I've got a ton of them. And studying this, I could see details that the original sculpt has that have carried over these lines here. It was a two-piece mold. You know, you'd be able to study stuff like that and say, yeah, that definitely originated from the original, but not obviously not the same size. So let's talk about measurements. Okay. All right. So now, if I'm looking at the mask, I'm going to take my hands and kind of go on the outer edges of this thing, okay? This is not easy, by the way. I'm just kind of giving you a guideline. Oh my God, this is not easy. I would say the width of this thing is roughly 10 inches, give or take. You know, it could be 9 3/4, but the width, looking straight down at the very widest point of this mask, okay, guys? I wish I had cardboard here, you know, I could really tell you exactly, but at least, hang on, let me lock that. All right.
at least 10 inches, okay? Real close. This little guy, I'm going to eyeball him. He's more like 9 inches or less, okay? So, probably 8 3/4 even. So a whole, you know, inch as far as the width looking straight down. And let's go here. I'm going from the bottom edge of the neck. This thing is at least, you know, tip to tip. Just under 13 inches, I would say, okay? This little guy, I just think maybe this will help somebody down the road someday. This one's more like 11 1/4, 11 1/2 versus 13. All right. Keep in mind, it's not just length, you know, that shortens and shrinks. That whole thing just shrivels up. So all that girth, you know, it all kind of goes away. And you're left with a smaller version like that. See that? You should be able to tell. There's definitely a difference going on here. Mm-hmm. And most of the time, an original casting is going to have that look to it, you know. If you see them with weird colors or real solid paint where the colors are bright and it's probably something that was repainted or custom painted and not a factory mask if it doesn't resemble this at all, you know. But either way, they're all cool, you know. Not this is, I've only seen a handful of original Malone versions from the 70s. I think he resculpted it in 76. I think 75, 76, 77 for Bill Malone to redo this mask. You know, just like the creature from the Black Lagoon, it was mid-70s that he redid a lot of the calendar sculptures, made his own versions for the letter B release masks. And there's not many out there at all. So this is definitely rare. But we're not talking about you anymore. We're talking about this recast, which is really cool. Let's put this guy back. Keep in mind, you could get the matching claws back then, which is even rarer to find a complete set like that. So back to the farmhouse. Back to Dom's parents' house in Illinois. There were other pieces in that photo that are underneath this desk, my homemade desk here, which is actually a prop from my haunting days. So, what else did I bring home that day? All right, let's put these aside. Here's a really rare mask that I've always wanted to find one. Distortions released them, so did Topstone. And this alien creature was sculpted by one of my favorite human beings on the planet Earth, Mr. Tom Savini. Woohoo! Look at that. This is that crazy alien creature that he sculpted for Distortions Unlimited at the time. Around 82, I believe, 1982. Because this is when Distortions was releasing the Fluffy and the Nate Creepshow pieces. All the movie stuff was coming out, and then Tom sculpted this for Distortions. However, this one is the Topstone version. I have to try to look up the old Topstone catalog to see what the pictures look like, but this could have had some custom additions by someone over the years. I don't know. Sometimes I look at it and think, this is what it looked like from Topstone, but I really honestly have no idea. But pretty cool that I finally found one of these. Just neat. It's not my favorite creature design in the universe, but it's cool because Tom Savini created it, you know. 4 distortions, 4 Topstone. And we do know that Topstone's versions of things were definitely a lower line than the distortions copies. So I would love to see what the distortions one looks like. I think I've only seen a couple in photos. So other than this guy, another one came home with me that's really rare. And I have one here already. Remember the Geek Maggot Bingo mask by Death Studios I showed you? Well, I got another one. Yes. And now this one here, I'm going to have to pull the original out because even Jeff, I was thinking that something was off with this one, and Jeff absolutely, and what Jeff told me on Instagram, like, it's exactly what I was thinking, that someone probably repainted this one. So let me grab the original by Jeff. Keep in mind, it's an old Ed French piece. Keep in mind, it was Ed French's original creature design for Geek Maggot Bingo. And he actually produced his own masks out of his molds. And there's not many around at all. Like, it's quite rare. And then Jeff re-sculpted it for Death Studios, okay? So when you see these are not the Ed French version, okay? It's his creature design, but Jeff re-sculpted them. This is so weird because everything is exact. The size, you know, every detail, the mold. But this thing was not painted by Jeff. Or maybe it was and they painted over it, like they could have touched it up. A lot of the ones I've seen, okay, first of all, I shouldn't say a lot of the ones, because there aren't a lot of these at all. On Jeff's copies out there, some have the tongue, some do not have the tongue, which leads me to believe the tongue was probably glued in separately by Jeff. Some either left the studio with them or without them, or they just simply fell out. And I'm talking, I've only seen a handful, 3 or 4 of these at all out there in pictures. And it's rare that the tongue is inside of them. So now, looking upon closer inspection, it's crazy because the size is on the money. This one here I got from Ira Brown's collection, okay? I'm going to try to get them nose to nose here. This is not easy because they're so distorted and weird, and I mean, can you see that? It's kind of like shaded there, but I mean, this thing, the size is on the money. However, this one is not cut in the back, nor does it have hair on it, okay? And I don't see, I mean, I never heard of anybody recasting the Geek Maggot Bingo mask by Jeff, okay? Like, I know Jeff sold copies, but everything about this looks legit, minus the paint, okay? Minus the paint. This has a rub out. You can see they rubbed out the flesh tone. They airbrushed pinks and, you know, weird colors, and then the lips are bright. But, I mean, it's so odd that it is not cut from the factory, okay? See, Jeff's has the slit in the back. This one absolutely does not. And that's a good, we should look at that right now, okay? What I'm thinking is if this was a recast, you'd probably see that slit, like they recasted one with a slit and they just taped it in the back. Nope, I don't see that slit appearing like this is a recast, which is just, who knows, it could have been a pull from Jeff's that left there somehow, and someone custom painted it. You know, I don't know. Either way, I'm thrilled to have found a second copy, and I think I have found an original. The original's crazy. The original's crazy and very rare. Come on, damn it. Alright, I'm going to have them touching each other. Fuck it. These are rare. The original's really rare.
So we will see. There may be an original coming in the collection that is totally up in the air right now, but had to show you the two geeks, and I want to talk a little bit about the Franken Shrine tonight. And you're going to see some empty spots in the background this evening. I just sent out the motherload of foam filling candidates to be filled, and I'm hoping this coming week there's going to be some serious pieces filled, and it drives me crazy that I have to ship them across the country to do this, but my God, it's worth it. So keep in mind, if you see empty spots, there's a really good reason, and they will be coming back. Preserved beautifully, and we are going to do videos on the two towers in the future. I know we haven't really talked about them yet, but that is coming. All right, let's see. What can we do here? Because I want to talk about something regarding Frank's masks, but I wonder if I should do it in a separate video or not. All right, hang tight.
Hello! Alright, we're totally back to the Franken Shrine days here. With what I'm about to show you. And if you guys are followers of the channel, you know about the Artifacts of the Franken Shrine series I have going on, where a very close friend of mine who passed away had the most incredible collection that no one's ever really seen. And in time, I've been bringing back piece by piece by piece to show you guys and add them here to this collection. So you may recall the vintage Alvarez Elvira, and of course the Halloween Society Maria. Both of these sculpted by the late great Henry Alvarez. If you remember, back during that episode, I had some old photos and even letters from Henry himself to Frank, where they were discussing 3 masks in this photo, in these 2 pictures here. And Frank was commenting on how, or I mean, I should say, Henry was commenting to Frank at how great they looked, even though they were a little blurry. He could tell the paint-ups were wonderful on them. And what I did not have here back then was the 3rd mask. Okay, remember in that old video I said, "Oh, I don't want to show you the 3rd mask we're talking about," because I knew we would be at this point eventually where I'm talking about them right now. And I have this amazing 3rd piece here. And keep in mind the clear coat on Elvira's eyes and teeth has browned over time. And I'm just about ready upstairs. I'm going to spend good parts of this. I'm going to take time over winter to sit in my kitchen and work on things like this, bringing her back to the way she should look, redoing her eyes and her teeth and getting the ugly brown out of there, because she once looked pretty amazing. I think that, here she is. You see that? That's what she should look like, or she did look like. I have a feeling Laura Lady did the hair work on this, and I think that, gosh, going by Henry's old letter to Frank, it could have been Rob and Kathy Tharp that did the paint work on both of these items. It's very unclear to me, and these days it's next to impossible for me to get through to Kathy anymore through emails. I've got all of these amazing photographs, and especially the pieces I'm bringing home from Frank's collection, where I would love to identify things, you know, who painted what type of deals, and make sure that the historic details behind these awesome pieces doesn't get lost, and everyone gets credit that they're due. You know, who worked on what and whatnot. So I'm sure in time Kathy and I will eventually chat on the phone, but based on the letters, I think the Tharps could have been behind the paintwork on these pieces, and possibly Rick Stratton on the 3rd piece. I think Rick could have been mentioned in that old letter from Henry Alvarez to Frank. So, anyhow, here we are. You got your Elvira, okay? Got your Maria, and these are old photos, probably from the late 80s or early 90s. Now the one that is missing, well, she's in the photo here, but the one that's always been missing is a REGAN, okay? A Henry Alvarez REGAN from the classic film The Exorcist. And if you go through these photos, you're going to see awesome old shots of a freshly painted up REGAN. Just gorgeous looking, you know. Look at that. You probably can't see too well because I'm holding up photographs, but this is the stuff I love. I love finding old photographs that you'd hold in your hands like this. I brought home hundreds of pictures like this. So keep in mind, I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate old photographs like this into videos like the one you're watching now. There certainly are a lot of them coming. There's so many photos I want to show you guys. And I'm like, how can I do this? How can I show them these pictures? Because number one, you guys deserve to see them. And number two, like, it's the old days. It's the old days of this hobby that's so different than today. You know, there was no internet. There was no websites. It was just, you know, guys selling masks through little black and white magazine ads and doing it over the telephone. And it was such a small community compared to what it is today. And finding the images like this to me is everything. You know, it's incredible to me. So it's kind of like totally a museum artifact, you know, in my mind. I know it's from the 70s, 80s, 90s, but man, it's cool, and it's crazy that the time frame, you know, jumping from just the 80s and 90s to now, like the difference in the way things were is so drastic, you know. Now everything's an email and a click, and you know, you barely talk to anybody in person anymore. It's all, you know, it's all little messages over the phone, and that there's no. It's like so bland compared to the way things used to be done. You know, I mean, see, you older guys will get it. You totally get it. And enough blabbing, Rudy. Jesus. Enough talking. Look at that. God. There she is. I'm going to hold her up on a little angle here for a minute because I don't have the proper post to put her on. But look at that. It is so, so cool. And like I was saying, I thought there could be a really good possibility that Rob Tharp painted up these beauties. Let's bring the camera. However, there's also a good chance that this one was painted by Rick Stratton at the time. Isn't this cool? Finding the old images like this. Just, we're going to scatter these all around the desk for now. Finding this stuff in old drawers and whatnot is just like, especially if it's a mask that I have, you know, in my collection, then I find a picture of it from the freaking 80s, either in Frank's collection or David Lady's collection, you know, or someone else's house in LA back in the day, or Hollywood. It's like, it's such a cool feeling. And any of you out there that collect stuff, no matter what you collect, if you saw, you know, an old photograph of one of the things that you have that you love so much in your house, it's super, super cool. I'm sure you'll agree. But anyway, look at that.
So I could not wait to show you guys the third piece in the old pictures we were talking about. Could have been like 8 videos ago, I don't know, but we were definitely, I was showing you old letters from Alvarez, from Henry himself to Frank. And I think he even commented at the time, like, boy, do Rob and Kathy live in California? Like, are they close to him? As well as, I swear he said Rick Stratton at the time, but I could be wrong. There was a third person, and Henry was wanting to know if they all lived out near him. You know, it would have been pretty beneficial for him to have access to painters that were nice and close by back then, to paint some things for him, I'm sure. You know, he was busy sculpting away, sculpting. He was busy making all of these incredible sculptures. I don't think he had a lot of time to actually paint, you know. That's one thing I don't know about Henry. Did he paint a lot? That's one thing I'm unsure of. But anyway, look at that. And like I was saying, I think once I'm able to redo her eyes and her teeth, this piece is going to come alive. I mean, not come alive, but it's really going to be like, there she is, you know. She looks stoned out of her mind right now. It's like her eyes are just totally gone. And there's Kelly Mann and I, the mask doctor, Kelly and I, we've talked about little ways to possibly remove that brown film off of there. So I'm going to try it one more time using a razor blade and some sort of solvent mixture he told me about. But it's like the way it's on there, there's nowhere to physically grab it to pick it off. And that's the issue. But very, very cool. I can't wait to make her look great again, because she's the old Henry Alvarez Elvira is incredible. And I knew this was always in Frank's bedroom under a big plastic covering full of dust, and for years I barely ever looked at it. I just didn't want to mess with it. I knew it was sitting there, you know, pretty safe, but didn't realize her eyes and teeth were so brown back then. But she needs to be saved. I thought this would be a great way to end this video. Back to those photos, like there's boxes and boxes of old pictures that are just unbelievable. So I think in time, I'm going to sit and think what's the greatest way to start mixing them into the videos. And I'm going to totally scan a lot of them. Like, they need to be scanned. I'm going to watermark a lot of them, because some of them are incredible. And you'll know why later on. But, oh my God, they got to be seen by you guys. They've got to be seen by the community, the old mask making community. Everybody out there will appreciate, even special effects guys are going to appreciate some of the cool old stuff I've dug out. So anyway, hopefully you like this episode. It was a short one, you know, nothing. I'll try to set this up nice and not too crooked, but you know, hopefully you like the masks I dug out of that old basement in Illinois. And this is just incredible, of course. The old Regan here. I'm gonna have to build a nice little pedestal for her to sit nice and normal. I think Frank had her on one that actually stuck on the wall, and it looked really cool. So maybe, you know, I did think about this. It maybe, oops. Maybe she does deserve to, you know, stick out of the wall like that. That'd be cool. Have a couple masks, like, you know. So, we'll see. You never know. I have a lot of ideas, don't I? Do I always execute them exactly the way I plan? No. So, anyway, thank you guys for hanging in there till the end, because to me, this is the cool stuff. It's all great, but this is awesome. So we will be back. Hopefully we'll be filming something
I may be filming tomorrow again already. I've got some ideas regarding the masks that were all under the plastic bags in Frank's bedroom. We may revisit the whole lineup on all those shelves because they're all here, okay? A couple are still getting foam filled, but once they're all back, I think we should show you every one of those in detail as they were lined up in order, in Frank's room. So other than that, more stuff coming for sure, and I will see you later.